Warning: the following content contains language that may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Welcome to the Let's Get Heavy podcast, your exclusive backstage pass to the realm of heavy music. Join us as we engage in conversations with amazing musicians across the metalverse. I'm your host Stevie, and we're about to get heavy with John from Warbringer. Also, if you are enjoying the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and if you're feeling extra generous, please leave a comment. It's completely free to do, and it helps us out greatly. Enjoy the interview, folks. Introduce myself. So my name's Stephen, also known as Stevie from Get Heavy UK, and I want to welcome you to the Let's Get Heavy podcast, where we like to highlight bands and try and spread a little bit of positivity throughout the metalverse. So thank you very much for
Stevie.
giving up.
Well, it's nice to be on. Nice to be on your show. Nice to be here, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for giving up your time. I know you've not long getting off tour and trying to have some downtime, of course. It's been a busy period for Warbringer. So I need to get my I haven't even got my questions ready.
So, no, that's okay. Yeah, it's certainly been. I'll talk about that. It's certainly been busy. We did this USA tour called The Vortex of Violence, and boy, was it a grind. Having not been on a full length tour for a minute, it kicked me back into shape, I'll say. And it took me like a week of being just completely perma-tired before I started to feel like a normal person again. I'm in the second week now, so I'm feeling better. And it's just been really nice being home, enjoying the home, the wife. I live in the middle of the forest, so that's really nice. And I've been mostly doing yard work. And it's kind of like zen. I've been doing yard work and like cooking dinners, and that's been my main stuff. So just like disconnected for a minute after the tour, and now I'm kind of getting back to it, gearing up for this next tour.
Of course, which is when you're coming over to our neck of the woods in the UK very shortly, kicking off on the 3rd of May, I believe. But before we get into the tour, obviously it's been 4 or 5 weeks since the release of Wrath and Ruin, which has been an absolute fantastic album for us. What's been the band's overall feeling regarding its reception from fans and critics alike?
Well, it's hard to feel anyway, but great when the reception's as good as it's been. We've got, I think the worst reviews say it's pretty good, and the best ones are falling over it, and people seem to love it. So the band feels great about it. It's been great playing. We played the singles live, which is Better World, Sword in the Cross, Through a Glass Darkly. We actually been bringing a sword around, so actually I need to organize getting a sword in the UK because I'm not going to fly there with it. But someone's got to bring the sword so we can bring the sword. So that's been a lot of fun. Actually, first time while using any like theatrical stage prop. It's a pretty simple one, but it like definitely connects with that particular song. Band's pretty stoked about the record. I think we might be adding another song or two in, working it in on this upcoming tour we're about to do. And we're just going to try out the material live. And generally, like, I think Warbringer's kept to a really like steady standard of quality for a while. And so I'm personally proud to just be able to continue that. I think we have a better discography, or more consistent discography at this point, more consistent at least than like most of the bands that influenced us. If I'm being honest, I really do think that very few have 7 in a row.
Very true, very true. I mean, because the band's been going since 2007?
Yeah, I'm talking even like the greats of the 80s thrash or whatever, like most of them have like 4 in a row if we're lucky. You know what I'm saying? Because all of them, like the 90s happened and everyone went some other way and didn't keep releasing like riffs and bangers, you know. So
even more so now because of the whole, costs, the rise in costs just to tour. Do you know what I mean? To take stuff out on the road is an absolute fortune now, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and that's just a function of the rising costs of everything in the Western world. So it's one of every single avenue they get you on that, and that's some of the feelings about that I wrote about on this particular record, which I think is part of why it connects the way it does with people. Um, but yes, absolutely, it was always a raw deal, and it got raw. So that certainly doesn't help. And when you go home, the stuff you have to, like, you're going to have tighter margins, and you're going to go home, and the stuff you have to pay for is more. Everything I made from the tour went immediately to taxes. I paid my taxes with that tour. That's it, gone instantly when I get home.
Nice. Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
It's trying to be as polite as we can about it, to be honest with you. It's the same here in the UK, rising costs. Very little bands seem to venture into Newcastle, which is where I'm from now. They always hit the big areas, which is, your London, Birmingham, Manchester and Glasgow. That they seem to be those type of general areas, which is we'll get into a little bit more in a bit. But are there any specific tracks from the new album that seems to be connecting strongly with audiences so far, either in terms of feedback or early streaming numbers?
Well, numbers are one thing. I'll tell you this. I had a guy in Detroit say that in a better world that he couldn't listen to it some large number of times and cried. Sorry, I'm in the woods, so my internet's gonna do that a bit. It says it's unsafe, but like that, I got a couple people responding like that, and these are two aggressive metal tracks. These aren't like sad, wistful numbers or anything. But I was like, well, and what if you look at the lyric of that particular number? It's an outpouring of cynical despair, kind of. And I think that particular one hits a nerve with how people are feeling today. I certainly, I wrote that song because I'm often feeling that way. Just everything's going to get worse, and you're almost a fool if you hope for any kind of improvement. How naive. Like, what if you're like me and you graduated high school in 2005? Everything has gotten worse. Nothing has gotten better that whole time. It's just been hit after hit after hit, and you just get used to it. And you kind of put your head down and go like, well, yes, I recognize that I'm going to get screwed from every single conceivable angle, like from, on the economic picture, I suppose. And then that has profound implications for the personal. So, yeah, I think that one's really connected. Sword and the Cross is also just awesome to play live with the sword stuff, like I was saying.
Of course.
So those two have been real standouts when we do them live. Through Glass Darkly is quite difficult vocally. I have to do a lot of breath in there, sounding all tormented and stuff. And that's a cool one to have in the set to break them up. Those are the three we've done live, and they all seem to land pretty well. We haven't had anybody saying, "Oh, I wish we didn't play as much new stuff." We played like the singles, but if that's like a quarter of the set we just played was new stuff. So pretty sizable chunk. And everything pretty much landed. I've noticed too, a lot of people have different favorite songs on the record, and that's always a really positive thing. It's not like one or two songs. Sword in the Cross seems to be a favorite. I can see why we put it as the opener for a good reason. I think it's one of my favorites. But yeah, absolutely. The whole thing seems to be pretty well received. And, Warbringer doesn't mess around as a band. We put out tight albums. We don't have like fat on them. We're not making albums just for the sake of making albums. If you ask us why it took us 5 years, that's why. Because we're not going to just do it. We're going to do it. And then we actually have the songs that we feel add something to our discography and need to be put out and such. So generally can't complain at all with how the record's been received.
Yeah. I mean, you said it's taken 5 years as well. Pressure's off. Take your time with it, and in that 5 years, you've released an absolute fantastic album, in my opinion. Absolute fantastic. Yeah. And The Sword is my personal favorite on the album. Do you know what I mean? It's an absolute banging track.
If you know anyone in Newcastle who has a sword, because we are playing Newcastle.
That's correct.
The record. We are playing Newcastle. And if you know anyone who's got a sword that they wouldn't mind donating to the cause, or we'll even buy it from, but that's actually the thing is now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh shit, I need to go and do some legwork to procure a sword in England, So what we did for the US, we actually had someone deliver us one in Kansas. They're like, here, we started using it.
I know a good few role playing friends and stuff like that who are like LARPing and stuff like live action role play, etc. So yeah, I might be able to help on that situation somewhere.
A
Yeah,
knightly looking medieval broadsword. We can't do any katanas or anything.
Right, broadsword. Yeah, I'm sure we
Yeah,
can.
proper medieval broadsword.
I can ask around, and just after we're finished, if you can drop us an email or something with where we're gonna meet and get it sent out. So
Okay. Yeah, I might
do.
put it post because if we can get one, I think the first show we play is like London or something. But if we can land it there, that's even better because that's like 2-3 shows in advance. And I also got to write the bus and be like, we're gonna put a sword in the trailer. I think we need this. So I gotta deal with that.
I'm sure anyone online who's watching this back or listening back later on, if you can help our friend Johnny out and get him a
We'll
sword
deal.
for London,
By the
that'd
time
be
this
great.
is out, we will have dealt with it, I'm sure. But yeah, just
Probably.
thinking aloud, like I have to actually procure a sword so I can't fly with it. So,
Yep.
we gotta land. We have to get a stage prop in Europe.
Not even can you not get a plastic one through customs or anything?
Plastic is not an option.
No.
No, no. Like you would know. Crowd. If I'm saying they're brandishing a plastic sword versus steel, the vibe is very different.
Fair enough.
One is kitschy and jokey, and the other is,
I hear
more.
you. I hear.
Yeah.
I hear. So, as you briefly touched on that, obviously it's taken 5 years to get this record out. In that 5 year period, did you approach any new songwriting or recording processes? You try anything new, sampling wise?
So I'd say the main new thing is the songs we wrote themselves, not so much the process. I think the process followed very much kind of the way we did the last couple records, probably even more so too, which is something we probably like to peel back on in the next one, where it was very like seven of the 8 songs began as I had the title already and I had a blurb. Here's roughly what I think it should sound like. Here's what I think the song will be about. And then a few random lines from there. So for instance, before we ever wrote The Sword and the Cross, that whole end part from where the Lord's like going, haha, you peasant, this is why I'll own you forever. I had written all of that verbatim, and that all existed before there was a single riff. And I do that, which is apparently unusual. Typically, I think, especially thrash metal bands, work from here's all the riffs, let's put some vocals on it. And to me, that kind of often, not always, because you can certainly write a good lyric that way. I've done it that way. But it sort of makes like, as the guy who doesn't play an instrument and is just doing the words, right? I don't want my part to be an afterthought. So I'm usually right there at the beginning, like, this is going to be about this. Now give me riffs for that rather than the other way around. And in order
your voice is the instrument, though, isn't it? I know you're saying you don't play an instrument,
it
but your
certainly
voice
is. It's an instrument, it's not the instrument, but absolutely 100%. We try. I think we put a bigger role to like in the songwriting step around the vocals and lyrics than most thrash metal bands, and that kind of makes it a little more. We're able to do stuff that's a little more like structured or conceptual than a lot of bands of our ilk, I think, because of the songwriting approach. In order to accomplish this, pretty much, I hand Carlos Cruz it was a Google Doc that had all the songs and ideas in it that I would slowly flesh out. And eventually, when it was fully fleshed out, it became the lyrics for the album. It was the full lyric sheet is what it eventually became. But at first it was like, this song's going to be called Cage of Air. It's about this feeling of being trapped by invisible socioeconomic forces and the metaphor of that is a cage of air, and think like Blade Runner dystopic stuff, but also think think of like the kind, and I was like, look at the note choice from like World Beyond from Creator. I'll come with some of that kind of stuff. So like that was what I'd give Carlos, was what I just told you basically. And then he would come up with a riff set, usually not the whole song, but he would come up with like intro, verse, chorus or something. Be like, here's this keyboard, can you work with this? And in every case, I was like, yeah, you pretty much got something at least pretty lined up with what I was thinking, and then I would work a lyric out for it. In many cases, so like Cage of Air, Sword in the Cross, some of the lines I wrote just fit all over the riffs verbatim or nearly verbatim. And that was pretty coincidental and lucky because he didn't always know the cadence. Sometimes I would even go in there and track the few lines I had just to a click track with no riffs, and then he would try to write around that or make that work. So it was really so it's not just me starting out with these vocal ideas. It was also Carlos Cruz's talents as a producer and an arranger, because we had our whole like little pre-production thing ready to go before we went in and did it. So we were very like crafted. There wasn't really. So the only downside of this approach is we do lose out on some of the improvisational, like bands jamming stuff, and we used to have more of that. So you can't gain something without losing something, I guess. But that's something I'm thinking for the next one. I'm like, we've done the last three so like structured and planned out. Maybe to hit something new for the next one, we have to go the other way. Which
it's nice to see that your mind, you're already thinking, and you only released this, it's only about 4 to 5 weeks, and you're already thinking of potentials for a new album. So that's
you got
epic to see. And
I
suppose you have, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. If you want to do it. So I think if I want to do something, it's going to be like a worthy successor to the last, because I think the last few we put out, Woe to the Vanquish, Weapons of Tomorrow, Wrath and Ruin, are as good as it gets for thrash in this day and age. I really do. If I don't believe that, I wouldn't still be here, and I have to maintain that, or I can't justify to myself continuing to make records. Like if I'm going to be I'm not interested in being like a pretty good thrash metal band. I want to do stuff that's truly excellent work, or I don't care to do it. So that's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves, I guess. But at the same time, I think without that expectation of the quality material that's going to come out of our band, we won't reach it. You have to have a goal to reach the goal, kind of.
Just so to say, you've got to have a goal, something to move forward with. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, how long can we keep a streak of just like really, really excellent thrash metal records coming out? And we're gonna find out. But as long as I freaking can. Is the idea. Just as long as I can keep putting out records that I'm like, these are a very high level of the genre and our band and what we're trying to do, I'm going to keep doing it. And it's my hope that I'll kind of know when I am spent, because everyone gets spent. Nobody that I'm aware of has put out like only amazing albums for 20 years. That band doesn't exist as far as I can tell. Even the greatest, my absolute favorites, they haven't done that, So I know that I will eventually run out of ideas within the sphere of our band that I'm really stoked about. And I hope that what I'll do is just not make another record, go kind of the bolt thrower way and be like, well, we sort of did our band until we couldn't anymore. And we made a really good last record. And, we'll still play live sometimes, and adios,
Well, I hope that's not for a very long time. I hope that's not for a very long time yet.
I hope so too, but I'd rather have it happen than do kind of like, here's another album from this band and everyone still cares. There's so many bands like this, but it's like, and people still want the first or second album or whatever forever, and I think we're really not that way, which is something I'm proud of, because it's hard to get around that in metal,
Mm-hmm. So how has the experience playing these new tracks from this album shaped your perspective on the album itself? Have any songs surprised you in how they translate to a live audience, or have you noticed any particular crowd reactions to the new material? from a live perspective?
Well, from a live perspective, I think they work pretty well. Sword and Glass. So what we did is we found we can't play Better World anywhere but near the beginning of the set because it's just relentlessly fast. It's a pretty limited riff set, kind of like sort of in line with the lyrics. Sort of gives you this feeling of being like stuck on an accelerated loop or something. But because of that, if you put it like partway through the set after you've played a bunch of burners, it doesn't connect. But what we've been doing is we've been opening with Severed Reality, and then basically as soon as which is an old song and has a good like really chaotic moving riff set, and then we just go straight into Better World right after it ends. So it's like so like, there's like a 1 second gap between them the way we're doing it, and that connects really well because it gives the beginning of the show just a feeling of total relentlessness because it is, and that always is like the vibe we want to project. As well as I noticed a lot of people sing the words on that one, which there's a lot of words on it. It's kind of one of those, oh God, why did I write the verse so dense? It's because now I have to actually do this live and one of the like go through it. The verse 1 and 2 stretch there is pretty uninterrupted. There's verse, pre-chorus, bridge, and they're all a lot of words, and I'm shouting the whole time. And so I'm like, it's one of those like, damn, it's like I wrote it just to be a cool lyric and to be a cool song, and then when I have to go do it live, I'm like, oh fuck, why do I do this to myself?
It must be an awesome buzz or an awesome feeling when you see fans sing the lyrics back.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get that for a number of our songs. I try to be catchy so that people remember the words and sing the lyrics, and so it definitely is. It's one of my favorite things. It's very validating to me, not just the band, but to me personally as the guy who wrote all that stuff. I wrote almost all the lyrics in the whole history of the band, so yeah, absolutely it is. Nothing to say there, but yes, pretty much.
Nice.
It feels very good that something I wrote and connected, and then Better World is kind of like, because some of the songs are just like brutal or whatever. A lot of them are brutal, like Woe to the Vanquished or something is brutal in a sort of, I guess, historical way or whatever. That's got some of my favorite lyrics in it. But like, Better World is more
riffs and solos. It's got riffs and guitar solos, so I was sold immediately. If it's got riffs and guitar solos,
in that case, you'll like every song we ever put out. Because I think that they all do. I don't think we've ever not had a solo in a song. Yeah. So actually, never mind. Turning of the Gears doesn't have a guitar solo.
Oh, really?
Turning of the Gears from the 4th album I don't believe has a guitar solo. It has a weird
I'll have to go back to that album.
Yeah, it's a cool song. It's sort of thematically would kind of fit on the record we just did actually. So, but yeah, I think that's literally the only example of a Warbringer song without a solo.
Nice. Well, keeping on to the track of talking about live events, you are kicking off your European run at Incineration Festival here in the UK on the 3rd of May. You are also with Decapitated on that bill as well. What are you most looking forward to about starting the tour in the UK?
Well, actually, this tour has a pretty extensive, like almost a quarter of the tour is in the UK. And, I much look forward to the UK much as pretty much anywhere. I just want to get out there and play some shows. And it could be in Britain, it could be France, it could be anywhere in the world, right? It could be in Canada, it could be in Mexico. And I love it pretty much just the same. It's going to be cool, though, just because usually, like you said, when you go to the UK, it's like a few shows. It's going to be cool that we're in there for like a good week or so. I don't remember every place we're going, but, Newcastle's one of them. I think we do hit the London, Birmingham, all that, and we get throughout there. So I'm really looking forward to just doing that, meeting a lot of people. I'll see some old faces, some new ones, and, try some random foods and stuff, and all the stuff I enjoy everywhere. Yeah,
Can you remember much on the food here?
No, despite this, so first off, y'all got there's plenty of great Indian food in Britain. So even if we can't speak, even if British food has the reputation it does. Secondly, the meat pies are something that is legitimately fantastic that you don't get that way anywhere else except Australia, which gets it because it's a British derivative. So that is, in my opinion, anytime anyone's like talking too much shit on British food, I'm like, but they have the freaking meat pies, okay? And those are no joke. So, and good ales and stuff. There are good things in Britain, in British food. I've also had some like pretty wretchedly greasy stuff, even for an American. I won't say it's all been good, but like, yeah, it's not like there's some interesting stuff. And then I like the regular breakfast. I like the freaking HP sauce and like that stuff, Like there are some good things, and even if they're not even because like a lot of stuff in America isn't the best things, it's like got its regional quirks, and as a traveling person, that's just innately interesting. Even if it's not like the best thing, just it's a different thing particular to that region. That's like interesting and cool in and of itself to experience.
Someone who's never had the chance to visit America before, supposedly our bacon is different to the American.
Completely. Your bacon is more like what we would call ham, I guess. It's like ham bacon hybrid. And our bacon is these crispy little strips. So it's not as meaty or chewy and it's more like crunchy.
Hmm.
So yeah, it is different. Is one better than the other? I don't know. They're both pretty damn good, to be honest.
It's bacon. Everyone
Yeah,
loves bacon, don't
exactly.
they? Once you've had
Yeah, like, they're
once
both
you've had a
good.
when you've had a good session on the drink, a couple of beers, then the following morning, when you suffer with bangover, your neck's sore, you got a pounding headache, what solves it? Bacon sandwich.
Bacon sandwich sure does it. Or, you can even have some of that beans, bacon, and toast kind of stuff. I don't even
Oh,
mind. I'm sold. I love
now we're
it.
talking. Now we're
Yeah,
talking.
now we're talking beans and toast. It sounds weird to an American, but I'm like, okay, I tried it. It's like pretty good. So
But when you do venture into Newcastle, I say I always recommend this. Try Greg's.
Grace,
Greg's. So it's like
Greg's. Oh my, I know Greg's like the pie, the fast food chain that serves the meat pies.
yes,
Yeah, I know it. I know. I've
yeah.
been. It ain't my first time to the UK. I've tried. That's one of my go-tos for like a quick bite. If you see
Well,
it, it's good.
a little bit of a history lesson. Greg's originated from Newcastle, and obviously from there it spanned throughout the rest of the UK. So Newcastle is where you should be trying where it is.
I mean, for a franchise place, it's like if you go to the or originating, I don't know what town McDonald's comes from, but I imagine if you go there and you get a McDouble, that you'll be like, yep, that's what that is. Greg's is a little better than McDonald's for sure, but franchising does that. If you got like a particular local place around the venue, it's something in walking distance to the venue I should be eating. That's what we're talking.
Nice, nice. Yes,
If
that
there's a
man.
good pub or something. Also, pub food is like food at pubs with beers. It's not bad, dude. I mean, if you go through Britain, that's what you're eating, so you may as well enjoy it.
I mean, they've got a new line at Greg's. They've got it's called Katsu Curry pasty now at Greg's. So give that a go.
I'm
Give that a bit of a
I'm
whirl.
probably doing the good old like beef and onions kind of stuff. That's my go-to. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
classic. And after the third, when you've finished that incineration, the very next day, you go out on the road again with Decapitated, Cryptopsy, hope I'm saying that name correctly, and Carnation. That in itself is an absolute formidable lineup. How did this particular touring package come together, and what kind of energy do you anticipate from these shows?
So the answer to every single time you ask any band how did this tour package come together is as follows. The booking agent proposed a tour package and the band said yes. Um, that is how that happened.
Straightforward. Simple, done.
So now, granted, the reasons we said yes are because we look at this and we go, hey, so we had discussed with our European agent Enzo's the guy's name. He, had said, hey, we'd like to play with different styles of bands, maybe more extreme bands. And so he's like, there's a lot of death metal fans in Europe. I feel like they don't all know your band as well as they could. And so we're like, okay, let's try to get on a tour like that. Fast forward a year, here's that tour. So there was actually some planning that led to us. He was like, are you interested in being on tours like this? And we said we were. And I think it worked pretty well for us because as far as thrash metal fans go, we're on the more extreme end. I have a pretty growly and raspy vocal style, and it sort of throttles you start to finish. It's not like goofy or jokey or anything as the genre can be. So we just did a tour with 3 death metal bands. Actually, the one we did in the USA was like that, and it works really well because we're still like an extreme aggressive band, but there's a little more. I think whereas a lot of death metal bands have to be very locked in on nailing all the crazy parts, we have a little bit more of like a punkish fuck shit up kind of energy to our show. It's a little more rock and roll by comparison, just because we don't have to trigger the kick drum, or we don't have to stand there and go like this. Bands actually thrashing, and that's part of a function of the style of riffs and beats and stuff we're playing. But it stands out, basically, is the point. It stands out in a really positive way, I think. And so I think we're going to do really well on this tour. I think that we got an absolutely crushing lineup of really, really heavy bands. Cryptopsy and Decapitated are, death metal royalty for good reason. Both of them have really noteworthy seminal albums that advance the genre and everything. And Carnation is a solid modern representation of just classic death metal sound. So it's very much like a death metal tour, and we're the thrash band on it. And that's a position I like being in because it sort of makes us automatically stand out. And then I consider us a really good live band, and we just bring a ton of energy and whip people into a goddamn frenzy. And our set's a lot more dive off the stage kind of energy than you often get in even extreme metal shows. It's just more raw, destructive, break your furniture kind of music, I guess.
Will this be the first time all 4 of these bands will be together?
Certainly, yeah, it is. We've played, I think we've played festivals with Decapitated and Cryptopsy at some point in our history. And Carnation, we've played a couple club shows with in Belgium, which is where they're from. So we're familiar with all these bands. I saw Matt from Cryptopsy over in Montreal on our last tour. I've known him. He has a podcast. I've been on it a few times. So, I toured with Vog from Decapitated. I've been on tour with him before when he was playing Invader, because we played with Vader.
Nice.
Many years ago. So there's some familiarity with some of these guys, which should make it easy to get started. But even if not, it's not our first rodeo. We're a pretty professional outfit. So expecting smooth sailing and good shows, because that's what we're about on the road. We don't want to make any trouble. We're just going to go in, do our job, do it well, and get to the next show, repeat. That's the name of the game on the road, is survival and just consistency.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Now, we've already touched on this a few times, that you're hitting up Newcastle May 6th at Anarchy Brewery. That seems like a dangerous combination in an actual brewery.
Oh, yeah. We've had some great shows at breweries. There's this one, Broken Goblet in Pennsylvania, we just did, where they really set this place up well. They had a great stage, great sound, green room and stuff. And then around, though, you go towards the backstage or to go get the shower, and there's the brewing tanks and stuff, all the vats and various things they're using for the different stages of brewing. It seems to work pretty darn well. I mean, I can see why the brewery would want to do it, because it's a built-in outlet, retail outlet, for them to sell all the stuff they're brewing. You bring a show over, people going to drink a lot of beer, and it happens that we're a brewery, so drink our beer. So you can see why it works from a business perspective for a brewery to also be a menu. And I've seen a couple where it's a better than average venue. Like this one I was talking about was everything you wanted out of a venue, and it just also was a brewery. I'm like, well, great. That's a
I
cool
think
way to do
it's
it.
I think he's changed ownership in the last year, I believe, or so, and the owner has done an absolute fantastic job with the venue itself. It looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you guys to see it because I'll be in attendance, of course. It's an absolute fantastic little
Oh,
place.
so
I've
that's
been to a few gigs there personally. Saw Gamma Bomb there,
nice.
Venom Fest as well. Yeah, sticking Irish lads in a brewery.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
They loved it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yep, obviously playing May 6th at Anti Brewery. Now I remember back in 2009 when I saw yourselves for the very first time. Didn't know who Warbringer was at the time. And you were supporting Megadeth, and that was at the O2 Academy. And I remember traveling back home. I was on the bus because I couldn't drive at the time, and checking out Waking into Nightmares. Just absolutely fell in love with that record, especially with songs like "Living in a Whirlwind," "Pray for Death," and etc. Do you know what I mean? It was just insane. Loved it. Couldn't get enough of the band
Oh
from that
yeah,
moment.
thanks.
It's not a problem.
Whirlwind and Severed are still staples of the live set.
Nice.
We've been playing
I'm
those in particular
buzzing to hear
forever.
that.
Yeah.
Buzzing to hear that because I would love to hear those songs live. It's been, like I say, it's been since 2009 since I saw you guys live, so it's going to be an absolute sick, fond memories. But from that show, do you have any particular fond memories of the Geordie crowd?
Of the crowd in 2009.
Well, just in general, well, if you don't know, Geordies is the nickname for the people of Newcastle.
Ah,
So
I
you know
mean,
how you got like Londoners are
Newcastle.
called Cockneys, Newcastle people are called Geordies.
I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know about Cockneys. I didn't know about Jodies. There's some UK
Mm.
lore for the, for this Yankee. No, that's
So
cool.
yeah,
A bunch of Jodies out there in Newcastle. So it's been a minute since I've been through Newcastle. Last UK tour, we didn't go there. We did like Manchester and London and Birmingham. We did this, what you said earlier. Um, so I remember having some good shows in Newcastle, but I'll be honest with you, I've played somewhere between 16 and 1700 shows, and it's kind of like a weird blur. Like my
I
own
can only
memory of
imagine.
my own life touring is strange and largely inaccessible to me, even if I really think about it. What does happen is if I go to the place and run into someone, I'll be like, I've seen you before. Or like, if something jogs my memory, it's in there, it's floating around, but I can barely access my own memory of like most of the shows I've played, which is strange and kind of tricky, to be honest. Um,
A
so
lot of beers have
basically,
probably
like,
been consumed in between those shows as well.
last several years, I drink like two a night after the show, and that's kind of where I end up. I used to drink a lot more on tour, and it was kind of like not even an issue, like I was acting crazy or anything. In the younger years, I was, but it was more just like eventually I get too damn like it's hard enough to recover show to show in general for your body to do it. And if I'm like slamming beers every night, I just can't. I just fall apart.
Mm.
As is, it's a struggle to hold together. So I don't really like drink a lot on tour. Sometimes not at all. If I'm being particularly good about it. But yeah, it's like that's something I've had to change in order to kind of perform at the level I want to, because otherwise I just can't do my own damn vocal parts to as well as I want. So that's been
Mm.
a thing I've had to change, definitely. And it's kind of hard because I like beer, I like drinking. It's kind of hard to not do that in the context of like a metal tour bus or something. But I'm the guy who like just goes straight to my bunk or whatever, because everyone else is like slamming beers and having a ball and like screaming along to the Scorpions record or something. And I just can't do that. I'm like, fuck, I can't do that because I got a show tomorrow and the next day and the next. I got like 12 in a row, no day off, or that's the kind of stretches they'll put me on. And I can barely do it, on the best of days. So That's been something I've had to change. I also like to smoke pot, and I don't really do that on tour either. Or like a little, like after, and only after the show. So all day I'm like, you know,
So
not
basically, when you do
partying,
the show, it's clear,
basically.
clear head sort of thing, ready for the show. So yeah, I
Less
get
my
what you
head.
get what you're saying.
It's less my head and more my throat, to be honest. Because
Right.
like I don't, some of these songs, like I just never forget them. We tried sometime like a year or two ago. Adam and I were hanging out in his backyard, and we're going, do we remember like this obscure song that we never play from the first record? And we just like air vocal and air guitared it out, just humming the riffs. And we are like, yeah, we know all our, like Adam and I know the whole discography. It's all in there, and we never forgotten any of it, which is fun. Sometimes you'll need a like, oh, and what's the line there? But not even too often. And the songs we actually play live, like sometimes I won't think about it for months, and then we get back to it, and it's just like as soon as the forecast starts, it's almost like I don't think about it; it just happens, which is strange because I'm not that way with anything else. I'm a very like thought out and planned out kind of person. Um, so yeah, that's just a weird quirk
Yeah.
of the songs. Like I'll never forget it. You could get me, you could like wake me up from a coma and I'd probably still be able to like, and if you started playing the riff for Living Weapon, I would come in on time, like so I don't know how or why my brain does it that way, but it's not because I need a clear head. It's because just like the actual vocal sound is demanding to make and hold that together and not get totally blown out. And what'll happen is I'll lose all the high shrieks. That's what'll happen, and that pisses me off because I've been at concerts where I'm like, the high shriek's about to happen. I'm in the concert. I love that part, and I'm ready to go. Ah! And the guy like bails out
Like
on it and doesn't
flat
do it,
sort of thing.
and it's like you can understand as a guy who tours, I can understand why. It's like it's hard to do that once in the studio or whatever. Then you got to do it in the middle of a live set when you're all out of breath and full of sweat and whatever. Um, but that's what people want to hear. That's what I'm there to deliver. So anything that's going to get in the way of that, I can't have it.
Respect to you, because it must be hard. Because
Yeah,
temptation's there. The temptation's there.
I do like being fucked up. I do. So it is actually, I drink at home. I like drinking. I'm a pretty normal guy in that regard. I'm not like crazy about it, but like, do I like slamming beers? Yes. And then I like being a little drunk and stupid. I have good times with that.
Of course. I mean,
Yeah,
who doesn't? Who doesn't?
yeah, exactly.
Finishing a hard day at work, getting home and having a couple of beers. It's nice. It's relaxing. Put your feet up. Do you know what I
Finishing an
mean?
easy day at work or finishing
Watch a
no
couple
work.
watch a couple of movies. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, and metal tour bus parties can be a great fun. Just people being like putting songs on and like singing along horribly out of tune and stuff. It's fantastic. Like
Oh,
sometimes
might touch back onto those little parties in a second.
like one thing we did, and it did affect me the next day, but I actually sang karaoke the first time in my life on this last tour. Um, yeah. So we were in Lawrence, Kansas, which turned out to be a pretty rad show. I wasn't expecting much out of Lawrence, Kansas, which is like a college town suburb of Kansas City. It's a little out of it. But like actually a great show. And the kind of kept the bar open for us. And so there's like 2-3 hours of people doing karaoke. So I did Desert Plains by Priest, which I did passable at best, and Necropolis by Manila Road. And I can do that nasal wizard voice pretty well, actually.
I was going to ask a little side question. So you mentioned karaoke. What's the most embarrassing song that no one might have thought that you've ever sung?
No one, well, no, I've only done it once in my life, so I just
Oh,
told you.
really? Really? Oh, right. So just right.
No,
Right. Fair enough.
no, it's not really my thing. But they talked, they got a few beers in me and talked me into it. But usually I'm like, why would I do that? I sing in a real band. Like, you want to see me sing on stage, you can just do it. I don't need to pretend, right? So Yeah, no, it's definitely really different. Like doing it with a backing track than a band. It's not as cool. I had fun with it. I had fun with it, and then because of all the shouting and singing and general boisterousness, I had a tough day. I had to do some recovery the next day and stuff. I was definitely a mess the following day in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's how it goes.
You never know. Hopefully one day get another karaoke stint going. See if we can get you to sing some
Maybe.
Taylor Swift or something.
Oh no, I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know it, to be honest.
It's
I
got the
live under
lyrics
such a
displayed at the
rock.
bottom though.
I live under such a rock and I love it. You could make all kinds of pop culture references and I wouldn't even know what you're talking about. I like it that way. I didn't ask to know. Like if I put on an album by insert pop artist here and actually want to hear it for my own purposes, which it's not like there's no good pop music out there, right? But if I do that, that's one thing. And if it's like force fed to me passively through like the media ecosystem, get that shit out of here. I didn't ask for that. Like I want to know the music that I actually want to know, and it's not limited to one thing or whatever. But like, I have a general hostility towards the idea that it's sort of like in the water and you have to know it. Fuck that. Like I'll talk to you about the like if you want to talk about like why the weird B-sides on Somewhere in Time are some of the best songs Maiden ever did. I got you there, but I don't know shit about I don't know fuck all about shit as far as pop culture goes. And out here in the middle of my woods, I don't have to. It's great.
Secluded, out the way, don't have to deal with people. Sounds absolutely blissful to me, mate.
I get enough. I get like it's weird because I either do this and nobody hears from me. You're like the only person I've talked to since I got home outside of my house. Like I don't talk to nobody.
Wow, I feel privileged.
Well, you scheduled an interview, so that's how it goes. But like if it's generally speaking, I get enough of that on tour where I'm like talking to people almost nonstop. And I enjoy it. I really have this very like extroverted side to myself. I'm not like, shy about talking to people or anything. But then I get home and it's like, almost none of it. And it's weird the way I'll do that, I suppose. I guess it's not. It makes sense. But yeah, I really don't. I'm not like some social butterfly at home. I think I just get enough of it. I think sometimes when I'm at home for too long, I kind of almost lose touch with the extroverted side of myself, and it like comes back into being when I start being when you put me on like a bus or something. It's funny.
Nice. Couple of more questions for you, and then we're gonna got a little bit of a challenge for you if you're feeling up for a little bit of a challenge. So, but this tour also sees you visiting places in the UK that often I feel personally that basically get missed out. So, like Newcastle, Exeter, Norwich, Swansea. What's the band's approach to including these perhaps less mainstream locations on your itinerary, and what are your expectations for hopes of these shows?
So I haven't been to any of those personally. So my hopes are just simple: good show, good crowd, good times. A proper rager, you might say. How do we include these on there? Again, so we say, agent says, would you like to do a tour with Decapitated, Cryptopsy, and Carnation? We say, yes, we would. Here's the dates. That's it. It's nothing. So what? And we're a support band on this tour. So whatever discussion was had about which markets we're hitting and why, we weren't privy to it, and we're just on board. So that doesn't mean though that we don't care about these shows, because we sure as hell do. And we're going to do our best on these and every other show in the UK and otherwise to bring the house down. So I'm really hoping that those shows go off, and it's exciting to go to a new place, learn what I can about the place, forget half of it, and then retain some random kernel or some random anecdote of something that happened there. That's what tends to happen. And see what food I can get. Sometimes there's like castles or something, UK. I studied history, so I know a fair amount about you British, like a fair amount about the place. I've just been there a few times. So always interested in that. See what I can learn, see what I can connect to the rest of what I know, and I get a pleasure out of that. But mostly, every show you put me to, what's the goal? Wreck shit. Wreck shit, get the crowd to jump off the stage, get the crowd to circle pit. That's what it's all about. And it doesn't matter if we're playing on frickin' Mars. That's the goal.
Nice. Love
Yeah.
that. Love that. And I know you like a bit of a history. And when you're in the Newcastle area, I don't know how much time you've got while you're here. I would personally recommend visiting a place called Lindisfarne. If you like,
Lindisfarne.
bike,
Oh, I know what
Lindisfarne.
that is, actually.
Yeah, if you know of your,
That's near Newcastle.
it's just so Newcastle, Northumberland, kind of on the coast, a little bit further out. You can, if I believe you might be heading to Glasgow after Newcastle. Um, but yeah, you kind of detour, go that way. Nice little place if you're into your Viking history, because that's where the
It's the
Vikings first
abbey,
landed.
if I'm correct, that's an abbey at which there was the first of the Viking raids
That's
upon.
correct. Which is where I'm technically, I say I'm from Newcastle, but officially I live in Northumberland, where the Vikings originally raided. So,
Oh, that's super interesting. I would actually love to see that one. So it's very unlikely, unless it's like really close to the city, it's unlikely the tour bus is going to go there. So
yeah.
usually to see anything like that, I got to be getting into town early, and
Mhm.
there needs to be like some people from the area that are like, let's go take you here and show you this, which I love when that happens, but it's really hard. And I've missed all kinds of stuff. I'd be really interested to see. Like, I've been to London and I never got to go to Trafalgar Square and see the HMS Victory and stuff. I never saw any of that, and I want to. I've been to Paris. I did, and I read David Chandler, The Campaigns of Napoleon, which is this fucking brick, and I never got to see Napoleon's tomb or any of that. So like, there's all kinds of stuff that I'm going, especially in Europe, because that's where a lot of what I know is. Where I'm going right by stuff that if I saw it, I would, you couldn't get me to stop talking about it. And I just go right by it because the schedule of the tour is like my God, basically, which is an annoying thing about tours. So you see things, through the lens of tour, you see things in a really interesting way because you're not a tourist. People from all the places you're going like generally they're at your show, they want to talk to you, they're interested, and it's a really cool lens to see things. They want to show you, here's the place I like to eat, here's this beer you got to try, here's this thing we have here, and you get all this interesting stuff, but you don't get to go like out. It's like usually, is it more than 3 or 4 miles from the venue? I'm not going there.
Yeah,
That's typically
it's
how
a
it is.
Lindisfarne's about a 50-mile trek outside of Newcastle, unfortunately. So,
Yeah, so probably not unless there's a day off, which I don't think there is. But
mm,
that's absolutely something I'd love to see. I never got to see Stonehenge. I never went to Hadrian's Wall. I've driven past all this and been like, that would be like 20 minutes that way. And we're like, we don't have 20 minutes. What, the bus with 50 people is going to turn so
yeah,
history nerd me can see something that never. So that's one of my great regrets about touring Europe is I never get to see a lot of this stuff that I would really love to see, and I would want to spend a couple hours there just going like pondering time and going, wow, I can't believe this really happened. That's generally my response when you see something like that. Like to imagine, Lindisfarne, to imagine actually sailing from Sweden or Norway or something to go there with swords drawn and to find the place and then to sack it and kill it, like, and then and that's only the beginning of a whole century or so of Viking raids where people are just doing this. It makes everything I've done in my life look quaint, by comparison. And it's a lot to ponder. So I really get into that, but I rarely have the time to do it on tour. So one of these days when I'm older, I need to go back through a lot of the places I toured and actually like go and see mostly like the historical locations and stuff because I would be really moved by that. I've had a few chances to do it, but generally, oh, you finished the show, okay, pack up, on to the next one. The wheels got to start rolling. You get off stage at 11, the wheels are rolling at 1. Let's go.
yeah.
And
I
then you
suppose
get
that
it.
could be one of the benefits of doing just like the major spots like London. It's what we talked about before, where you can do like just London, Manchester, but you got a day off in between, and then that way you got time to go and visit. Or no time.
So the thing about a day off on tour is I can't just do infinite shows and keep my throat together, my neck, whatever. All of that takes a little. I need like some time off. I get less than I want every single tour. But here's the thing about why bands generally don't want days off on tour, or they want minimum. Like whatever the absolute minimum you need is, that's how many you want. Because you're out there, you got 5 people living off of your tour budget, which comes out of your ass at the end of the day. And you're paying for like a bus, you're paying for crew, you're paying for gear. You're still paying for all that on the day off. So like whatever money you were gonna make, you take a day off, your running costs are like a few grand a day.
Oh wow.
You made like 3 grand less because you took a day off. And the margins are tight to begin with, as you were talking. So if you look at the schedules we're on, I think there's 2 or 3 days off in this like 5-week tour that we're doing, and so it's brutal. The tour we just did was 25 shows, 2 days off.
I never thought about it like that. But now that you put that into perspective for me, I never really thought of
And
that.
typically when you have a day off, it's because you're driving like 800 miles or something. So the days off we just had on the tour, we drove 1,100 miles and 800 miles. So those aren't days off. You're not playing a show, but you're not doing anything else. You're just traveling, and then when we actually get to where we're going, you just sleep. So because like even if there was some magnificent thing next to the hotel, you're like, well, Christ, I need to sleep like as much as I possibly can. And so you really
I'm glad you kind of brought that up then. So because touring can be both exhilarating, demanding. You've already said. What are some of the things that you do as a band to stay energized and focused throughout runs like that?
A lot of it is kind of in the personal level of what you might call brotherly camaraderie, where everyone's tired, everyone's worn out, and you kind of look at each other. I'm like, we're going to give these people a hell of a show tonight. It's our honor as performers, and it's our pride as musicians, and that won't let us give less. So let's get off our ass and start like, here we got some fruit in the backstage. Eat something decent. Let's make sure we're taking care of ourselves. Sometimes like doing some working out, stretching, whatever, just basic stuff you gotta keep at. And it's not about doing it once, it's about doing that steadily throughout and keeping physically and mentally on top of it. Because the tour kicks the living shit out of me. I don't feel right for like a week after I get home. Still not 100% recovered from the tour we did. Ended like 10 days
mentally, does it?
Oh yeah, well, mentally it's just tough to keep doing the same thing and like to hit the stage with the same level of passion, excitement, and energy. It's really easy to be stoked on the first couple shows. Show 8 or whatever in a row is, sometime in the backstage we're getting ready, and we'll never show you this side of ours. You won't ever see us acting this way on stage, but sometimes you're like, just absolutely drained, and you got to go whip yourself into a frenzy because it doesn't matter. The people at show number 8 or whatever don't care that they're show number 8. For them, this is the only night. For you, it could be night 25 or whatever, but for the people there tonight, it's one and only the time they're going to see you in who knows how long. And so you always have to remember that. You always have to be like, it doesn't matter how you're feeling personally or if the vibes are right for you or whatever. That's weak to think that. Like you have to deliver to the people every single night. And so that's why when you hear me talking about tour, I'm like always about don't matter where you are. It's about consistency. It's about keeping up the show, because if you have pride in your performance and you have honor as a performer and a musician, I think, then that's what that means, is that anyone, and whether it's a good sound, good stage, bad stage, good sound, bad sound, the crew and the venue, or the venue were nice to you, the venue were dicks to you. None of it matters. The people paid to see you, and goddamn it, you got to deliver. And it doesn't matter if the sky's falling on your head,
Oh, that's a lot.
So that's what it's about for me. And so that's why, like, it's not about. Sometimes people ask me what crowds are the best or whatever. The best crowd is the one I'm about to play for. The next show, that's the best crowd, or the show tonight rather. Um, so, and I think that's the only attitude that I think one can really afford to have. You can't favor one over the other. You can't be like in your own head being like, oh, well, tonight we're in Lawrence, Kansas, so it's going to suck, so I'll conserve my energy. No, get out of here with that. You got to give it all every night, nothing else. And even if it's total shit and there's not that many people, those not that many people are going to see whether you're giving them a real show or not. They're going to know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot to take on board. Like I say, that must take a lot of strain mentally. Respect to you.
I mean, it's just the only way to do it. If you care about the cause of playing true fucking metal live, there it is. That's what you signed up for. So I signed up for that. That's what I got to do. Yes, it's tough, but it's the only way. Like if you think about it, you're like, there's no other way one could be about it. And, like I wouldn't respect myself if I didn't do it, if I didn't approach it that way, and at least try to pull it.
From a fan's perspective, I just want to say thank you because you're sacrificing so much to play these shows for us. So thank you, man. Honestly,
You do, and from the band's perspective, I'll say thanks to the fans because without the fans, we're not a band, we're nothing. So we're not. There are sacrifices in life one takes, and I could get it. I don't want to get into that, but I could.
Of
I
course,
could tell you a lot about that. But I do this because I choose. So it's not a sacrifice; it's a gift, it's a benefit, and that's when your ass is totally kicked and you are tired and would rather be asleep or whatever, and you have to go on stage and give them an hour of blistering thrash metal. That's what you think. You're like, this is a privilege to be here at all. It's a privilege that one person bought a ticket to see me in, Newcastle or Norwich or wherever you are, and and you have to keep that at the front of your mind. That's like a wellspring of strength, I would say, is that thought and that attitude. And then I guess that goes back to your earlier question. How do you keep on? How do you keep disciplined about it? That's how you have to keep that in the front of your mind. And the mental precludes the physical, I would say.
nice. Like I say, very heavy indeed, mentally, physically. Wow, just insane.
Hey, one's got to have. I would want
little...
that out of any band I saw. So I have to expect it out of myself. And in the band, one tries to foster a culture where that's the expectation, and everyone's like, both encouraging people to do that and then sort of high-fiving each other. We pulled it off. We did it another night, another good show. Like, thanks for your effort, brothers, because everyone's got to do it together. It requires all 5 dudes be on this page consistently over time. And given the way life and people are, it's really hard. And people get people, sometimes this one guy's in a shit mood for a few days and you have to work with that and get through it and not let the brotherhood fall apart and stuff. In our younger days, Waking in the Nightmares, we had not figured this out yet. So we were just fighting each other all the time.
Honestly, man, thank you, man. That's amazing to hear. Absolutely amazing to hear. But beyond these UK dates, the European tour continues. Are there any specific countries or festivals you're particularly excited to play on this leg of the tour?
Well, this leg of the tour, it'll be interesting. You know what? Decapitated is a Polish band. The end of the tour is in Poland, so I'm interested to see what the Polish shows are like when we're on tour with a hometown band. That'll be really cool. So I guess that. But again, every show. The next one. So first is London. After that, it'll be the next one, and I don't even know exactly where we're going when. Typically, I know about 2 or 3 days in advance when I'm actually on tour. So I know we start in the UK and end in Poland, and that I think we don't go to Spain, unfortunately, but we go damn near everywhere else.
Cool. So I touched on before, there might be a little bit of a challenge. Are you feeling adventurous and open for a little bit of a challenge?
I'll take the challenge. Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, challenge. So it's called the Geordie Challenge.
The Geordie Challenge, okay.
The Geordie Challenge. You've probably noticed we've got a bit of a distinct accent. I've tried my best throughout this interview to not use our typical Geordie slang because it does come across. What did you just say? But
Sure.
to give you a bit of backstory, so Geordies, the name originated from the coal mines from Durham and Northumberland. Many poems written of these dialects from the Geordie, and it's mainly focused around with people who were called George in the old pit days.
George.
So, yeah. So we've got,
Okay.
we've normally got 7, but I've got 4 for you. 4 Geordie sayings, and you've got to try and guess what they are in standard English. Okay?
Okay, that's interesting.
Excellent. So, first one, purely belter.
Purely belter. I think
If you
that would.
if you need it in a sentence, let us know. I can use it in a sentence for you.
You throw it in a sentence. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So Wrath and Ruin was purely belter.
Okay, so I think it's what I thought. Good, basically, cool.
Spot on. Well done. Well done.
Purely belter. I like that one.
Purely belter. Purely belter that. Clamming for me bait.
Clamming for me bait.
Yeah.
Like bait, like you would catch a fish with.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Bait. Clamming for me bait.
Clamming.
Yeah.
Okay. Use that in a sentence.
So I'm with me mate Ricky or whatever his name is. I'm with me mate, and that's like, how I mate. I'm proper clamming for me bait.
I don't know what the hell that means. Okay. Say the sentence. It's what was the thing you said before?
So you're having a conversation with your friend. He's busy chatting to somebody else. You're kind of in a rush, and you say to your mate,
I'm anxious to go.
I'm clamming for me bait. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like I'm anxious to go somewhere. Let's get out of here. Let's leave. Is it something like that?
Kind of. Not so much anxious. You want something.
Okay. So it's I want to get out of here. Basically, I want to roll.
No. Think of more. What do you normally tend to do before you go to a show? So you're going to a concert. What would you normally do before a show? Might get some drinks. Maybe get some drinks and go for some.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-game. Yeah, pre-game.
Kind of. Yeah, it's like I said. You'll have maybe go for some food. I'm proper hungry. I'm hungry for me food.
I want to eat something.
Hungry. I'm
Let's
hungry
get out of here. I want to
food.
eat. Okay.
So hurry up. I'm clamming for me bait.
Okay, I don't get the clamming part, but for me bait, like a fish would eat bait, so I want to eat bait, which would be like a Greg's or something.
It's like, I'm clamming. Man.
Okay, that's a good one. I've never heard that one.
No worries. So, number 3, I'm ganyem.
Ganyem?
I'm ganyem.
If you told me that was the way you said that, if you told me it was Mandarin, I probably would believe you. Ganyem?
I'm ganyem. So what do you
use that in a sentence, and I will guess and probably get that wrong.
Once Decapited's finished at Anarchy Brewery, I'm ganyem.
Once the cup of tea is finished at the brewery, I'm
so once Decapitated, so I'm using.
I'm leaving.
Going home.
Ganyem.
I'm ganyem. I'm going home.
Okay, that's a good one. They said once the cup of tea's finished, I'm like, you're having tea at the brewery? I probably will be. So it's not only, I'm drinking tea every day on tour. So it didn't stand out as like weird to me because I probably will be doing that.
Got to get that Yorkshire tea in you. That's the best stuff. Yorkshire tea. That's the way forward.
All right, I got it.
So the last one. It's not what you think it is because everyone thinks I'm saying something else. Okay.
Sure.
Gizzard Deeks.
Gizzard Deeks.
Aye.
So like gizzard, like an organ.
So it's Giz Ear Deeks.
Giz Ear Deeks. This is some what the fuck are you saying, mate? I've actually had the thought at parts of the British Isles, in particular Wales, is the one for me, where I'm like, I have an easier time talking to like Germans or Polish or whatever who are speaking English as a second language than I do to certain people who are speaking English like as their first language to me, which I find just hilarious. Okay, what's this one? I got no idea. What's
Can I
this
have a
mean?
look? Can I have a look?
How? So there's no way in hell I would have figured that out.
That's why we. Well, I've Gizzardeeks.
So say it in a sentence.
So friends reading a magazine. Warbringer's just announced a tour. Oh, Gizzardeeks.
Oh,
So get
have a look. Yeah, okay. Gizzardeeks.
Can I have a look? Yeah.
Okay.
Or something's broken. Me mobile phones or me phone's broken. Oh, Gizzardeeks. I'll take a look and see if I can fix it for you.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Damn. So I can barely say that, let alone what it is, figure out what I mean.
Well, I'm giving you a fighting chance when you come to Newcastle, and everyone might, in case you're able to meet anybody in attendance, and if they start using this Geordie lingo,
I'll at least know it's Geordie lingo, and they'll like that. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, I like it.
no worries,
That's some good regional flavor there. So Geordies are from Newcastle, and they say some of that stuff, and that's very specific to Newcastle. You won't find that elsewhere.
No, that wherever you go in the UK, we've all got a different way of speaking.
Yeah.
So we're quite here in Newcastle because we are pretty much on the border of Scotland, so we kind of sound a little bit Scottish while also portraying a little bit of English, bit of Germanic, bit of that Norse Viking heritage. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of a blend. So a lot of German bands that I've come across, they seem to pick us up very well because of it's very Germanic in the way we speak.
Well,
But
it's always English as a language is always interesting to me because I've worked like tutoring and teaching when I'm not on tour, and so sometimes I'm teaching English to like kids of varying ages and stuff, and whenever they ask me about the funny rules in English, you're there, and whatnot, and um, English is a funny language. You may have heard it called a bastard language. It's because it has both Germanic and Latin roots. Latin thanks to the Normans and William the Conqueror and all that. But it's a Germanic, like old English. Before that is apparently a Germanic language, and it's kind of those two sandwiched together. So there's not like a clean set of rules, and there's all these funny exceptions in English as a result of that. I speak a different version of English, but it's still English.
yes,
And so like that's just always been interesting to me. And I think it explains a lot if you're trying to explain to some kid why there's so much bullshit to deal with in English. And one of the other things is I think the quality of the English language makes it really good if you're writing poems or songs because there's all this like funny wordplay you can do that if it had like a more consistent logical set of rules wouldn't exist.
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree. It's amazing, though, like you just said, when we both speak the same language at the end of the day, but it's still so different.
Yeah. Yeah, just one language has a wide range of stuff in it, and that's kind of a trip when you think about. So, for instance, I don't know Mandarin, I don't know Japanese, I don't know French, I don't know, and then all of these too are like, I don't know Russian, et cetera, and all of these languages too have all the same depth that like English does, right? And I just don't even know it. I don't even know all that's in English. So it's just a trip to kind of put that in your pipe and smoke it, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much for your time, my friend. I've had an absolute blast chatting with you. Before
Yeah,
we
it's been
do
fun.
call it an afternoon, early morning for yourself, or probably early afternoon for you,
Early afternoon.
anything that you wish to plug before we do end our interview?
Check out Wrath and Ruin, and we hope to see you at Anarchy Brewery in Newcastle or wherever else in the UK or the world we might see you. Thanks for listening, and hope you guys had a good time. I did.
Nice, nice. And I want to leave you with the Get Heavy UK creed, which is the rules of the pit or the rules for life. When someone falls, we pick them up.
Hey, I like that. That's great. I appreciate that. All right, take care, Stevie.